I'll hand over to Dave now and see what he's got to talk to us about. A development in Newmarket, looks like. Thanks Dave.
Paul. I'm on, I'm good? Yeah. I'm coming over this side, there's feedback. Okay, thank you. Always good to take the opportunity when Matt asks to come up and present. It's a very humbling experience to be able to talk about something that you've done in front of a bunch of people who may be doing the same thing, so be nice. I'm going to just talk about a project that we're actually in the middle of, well, not even in the middle really, we're at the very early sort of few months of it that's happening in Newmarket. But I thought before that, while I've got the floor, I'll talk a bit about me. Who doesn't want to hear that? So, a little bit about me. I've got two children, teenagers, my daughter Eleanor and my son Joseph. These photos were taken last year. It was my daughter's 18th birthday last year. I said to her, you know, you're turning 18, what do you want to do? You want to have a party? What would you like to do? And I said, you know, we hadn't been able to travel because of COVID for a couple of years, and traditionally we'd always taken an international holiday at least once a year. And didn't bat an eyelid. She's like, I said, if we did go, where would you like to go? And she's like, Greek islands. Hard to argue with, so we did. We went to the Greek islands and obviously Paris. We sort of built a trip out around that. So it was really good to, she took her best friend with her and just been in a position to be able to do that and offer her and her best friend. Hopefully they'll remember that for the rest of their lives. And I'm so glad that she wanted to do that rather than, I don't know, go to Bali with some friends and do stupid stuff. So it's kind of cool that Dad's still cool enough to travel with. I also play bagpipes just randomly. You know, if you didn't know it before, you know it now. So yeah, that's I've been doing that since I was about that high, and you know, it's taken me all around the world actually playing professionally in another life. A lot of fun, and who would have thought it at the time, but it happened. And I am also a full-time property developer now. So I was fortunate enough to leave the corporate world back in August last year. I had been doing a little bit of stuff in the background with the property, invested in a couple of deals, started to understand that, maybe there's something in this property thing, and then, you know, a bad day at work, one thing led to the other, and decided that's it, line in the sand. I got to get out of the corporate world and I want to do this because this is more fun. And I was right, by the way. And yeah, August last year decided to pull the pin on that, and we've been doing it full time ever since. I'm also a partner, both in life and business. So my partner Jo, who's now cringing up in the back row because she hates the limelight. That's why she's not standing up here next to me. That's my part of the business. But yeah, we both do this full time, and it's awesome. It's great to be able to do something together that we both love doing, and to be able to spend our time together. You know, we just been out today shopping for all the stuff we need for one of the renos that we're doing, and yeah, it's good fun to sort of bounce ideas off each other and just enjoy that time together as well. I'll just sort of give you a bit of a quick rundown on some of the current projects we've got, and I've tried to get the best photos of the properties I could for you. We picked up a nice little renovation project in Eagleby, so I know Paul's a fan of Logan, so this is why I put these ones up here. I think they're all in Logan, aren't they? No, that one's not. But this is literally the places that we bought. I mean, not all of our projects are like this, but these ones are. There's a lot of crap in these houses. There's a lot of these places that we've found. These have all been brought to us off market, so I can't stress that enough. If you're thinking about doing this, you know, in any sort of serious manner, you need to have a team, not only of the professionals like you just saw Damien and others that are part of the group, the sponsors, but part of that extends out to the people who are going to bring you the deals. Because if you're sitting out there right now and you're working full time like I was, my corporate role, I was a country manager, I was never home. I was on an aeroplane every second week somewhere around the country. When I was home, I had my kids. I didn't have time. I didn't have time to go and spend to find deals. So it became pretty evident to me that I needed to find an extension of me in a sales term, and that was real estate agents. I mean, these people are literally knocking on doors every day and putting letterbox drops out. Now, I could have done that, but I don't have the time to do it, and honestly, I didn't really want to. But that's what they do. That's their job. That's how they make their money. So they will then go and find a place like, and this is exactly what happened. They found this place, they rang me, and they said, Dave, I've got one for you. Now, there's two things about that. One is they do that because if you're a real estate agent and you have to take photos of this to sell it, you've got a brand behind you, right? Is that really going to help your brand as a real estate agent? It's not. More than only that, you've got to do open homes. How much fun's that going to be? Because that is the garage. That's the garage, and I can assure you, as sure as I'm standing here, every room in the house is the same. There was a path, and you stayed on the path to get through the house. So the agents love when they can pick up the phone and go, Dave, I've got one for you. Because they know we're serious. They know that if the deal's right and it stacks, we'll buy it. So we bought that one. It's a JV, so most of our deals are, there's always someone else involved, well, 95% of the time. Either a joint venture, and in this instance, it's a joint venture with a funding partner. So we're the working partner in that particular job. We're doing the project, and our JV partner is actually funding it in this half. Our funds are currently tied up in other projects, so we can't do everything ourselves. This one, same deal. I ran the numbers on this one, and it just didn't make sense to buy it. I went back to him and I said, why is he selling? And long story short, was that he had started to renovate the house and he did a really bad job. And we'll have to undo everything that he'd done. He'd run out of money, he'd run out of time, he'd running out of health, unfortunately. He just wanted to leave and move on with life. And so we discovered what the problem was. And so you can see here I've written it's a seller JV. We didn't actually buy this property. We actually found out what the problem was, we gave a solution, and now we technically, we don't own it, but he can't sell it anymore until we renovate it. So effectively we're renovating this property for this man. We've given him some funds to go and move on with life so that he can just forget about it. We'll renovate it. We'll then sell it at a better profit. The sales, the real estate agent then gets a second bite of the cherry because he's now going to get, he's going to get a higher commission because he's going to sell a better property. So it's all about the win. And I guess that's what it comes back to with any deal that we do specifically, and hopefully that when you're doing your own, it's the same thing. It's got to be a win-win. If everybody that's involved in that deal is winning, then it's a good deal. If someone's not, you need to walk away because it's going to go south. This is the current one we're doing. We're literally 4 weeks into this one as well. We self-funded this one. This is a property that we found through a buyer's agent, another avenue of sourcing deals. Just out at Inala, we did some homework on it, realised it was a great street, great potential, and yeah, jumped in and we physically do the work ourselves. We were out there. So this is the kitchen, the bright red walls, and I really hope that Matt's going to be kind enough to let me come back one day in months to come when this is finished, because have I got some stories to tell about this property. So I'm not going to tell you now because you'll have to come back and watch. But again, these properties, they've all got good bones, they've got good opportunities, they're in good areas, but we have to go through a lot to find these. These don't just come along every 5 minutes. And the two most recent ones, we've just picked these two up in the last week and a half, 2 weeks. We've got a big one down here on the river. We've got some big plans for that one, and a block of units that we're going to build some more townhouses on. And renovate what's already there. So again, there's JV, joint ventures, there's money partners involved. Nobody can fund everything themselves. I guess if you could, you probably wouldn't be sitting in the room because you'd be out doing other stuff. It's really, really important to be able to work with other people on these projects because you're going to learn and they're going to learn from you, and it makes it more fun. I forgot these, right? This is a acreage subdivision that is now sold, thankfully. Again, off market. Agent just rang me and said, "Hey, do you do subdivisions?" And I said, "Sure, what do you got?" He showed me this block and I did the numbers and I've gone, that stacks up really nicely, thank you. And I'm like, and this is where the team comes in. So, Alex and the guys at Steph and Harris, they were the town planners. Damien, they were the guys who did all the electrical for it. I mean, these guys, the sponsors that were up here before, that's the team you need to be able to do that. And we bought that. It settled the week before Christmas. The plan ceiling is in right now, so it's happening right now. And I've sold the properties about a month ago, actually, to the same family. Somebody rang up and said, hey, if I take both properties, will you give me a discount? And I said, how much discount do you want? And they gave me a number, and I said, sure. If you're going to give me a contract on both and save me all the time of having to sell the second one, why wouldn't I? So it was a really nice, quick, easy deal. They don't all come along that easily, but it was a really nice deal to get. The one we're going to talk about tonight, though, is this one. This little beauty. So this is a literally 100-year-old house. It was built in 1920. So for those who don't know about those sort of homes, there's not a lot you can do with them. In fact, well, you can't move it, you can't knock it down. It's in Newmarket, it's in the end of a cul-de-sac, it's in a very high-end area, and it was a deceased estate. So that's how I found it. Part of the, I do some research these days because I've got a little bit more time. I went to the auction. Leading up to the auction, I had actually walked away from this particular deal a couple of times. I was back and forward. But in the end, working with the coach as I do, or it certainly was back then, I had to reframe a few things in my own thinking as well as I left the corporate world. We're taught to think a certain way, and when you're no longer in that environment and you have to think a different way, there is that little transition period, and this particular project happened right at that transition period. So in the end, I went to the auction and I bought it. And well, I won the auction, which, who knew? You never know on an auction, right? You go along with the best intentions, but you don't know who else is going to be there on the day. And it turned out there was only 3 of us actively bidding, and only 2 of us who kind of wanted it, but I wanted it more. And I kind of got to a point where I thought, oh, maybe he wants it more than me. And then I kept going, and I'm like, I was still $200,000 short of where I had done my feasibility. So I had a long way that I was prepared to go. The question that I was going through my head was, how far is he willing to go? And, how cheap can I get this property? It's that balance of I'm prepared to spend another 200 because it made sense in the feasibility, but I don't want to if I don't have to. Turns out I didn't have to. He chickened out pretty quick, because I was very quick. As soon as he put a bid, I was straight up. I just wanted to, a lot of it's psychological at an auction as well, so I had a bit of fun with that one. I considered making it a rooming house, and then quickly decided it wasn't really the area for it. I mean, when you understand where this street is, the whole street is full of high-end homes, and a rooming house in that street it didn't make sense. The space was there to do it, the opportunity was there to do it, but it just didn't sit with me right. I looked at renovating it just as it is, but again, it didn't make sort of sense. The opportunity was too great to do something bigger and better based on what was happening in the street. So in the end, I decided to renovate the whole thing, and in a pretty major way. This is the photos of this is what I bought. So I'll get into the numbers and talk you through that shortly. But that's what I bought. I wish that I could have brought with me some of the senses that go along with a house like that, the smells and stuff. It would have been. I like to share, but I'm sure you. Look, it's as you can see, it's a renovator's dream, and we're going to do some pretty nice stuff to it. So this is the existing layout. I kind of like this because you see this on realestate.com or whatever. When you're searching properties, you see the floor plan. You look at it, oh, that looks really good, and then you get there and see the actual thing. Like it just the pictures and the floor plan, they just don't correlate to me, but. The existing floor space is 131 square metres, so that's what you see there. I mean, here, they've got there the multi-purpose room. Let me assure you, nothing is further from the truth. That is not a multi-purpose room downstairs in the garage. It's some sort of dungeon. Even now, when I go to this house, and I'm meeting the asbestos guy there tomorrow, when I go down these stairs, I just have to stop and peek before I go in. It's just a really scary space. We're going to improve this in a big way, and we're going to take it from 131 square metres to 378 square metres. So it's going to be a very big home when it's finished. This is the new layout. For those of you who like to see design layouts, not necessarily 100% where it's going to be, but it's pretty close. So we're going to add the carport at the front here. You're going to be able to drive in off the side. You're going to come through the front door, the new porch area. This is underneath the existing structure, so we're raising the existing structure up to 3 metres. And then you've got some living, nice big kitchen, al fresco, and then there's a big pool out here, fully decked. So the idea is that when you walk in through this front door, you're going to be able to see straight through there, and the pool's going to be the first thing that catches your eye, the glistening water and all that sort of stuff. Like, it's going to have some real wow factor when you walk through the door. We've got a media room down there. We've got a 4th bedroom, plenty of kitchen, outdoor area for people to entertain and everything downstairs. And upstairs is basically just the the bedrooms and stuff. So we've put an ensuite on every on every bedroom. We haven't done about that, but in the end, I just decided that, why not? We had the space to do it, and it kind of just made sense. So, we've really got a big main bedroom here. This area here is still under roof. It's effectively, it's kind of like a parents' retreat area, and it opens up onto a full-length deck. Now, the kicker here is, once that's raised, you're going to have city views from that deck. So it's going to have, again, some more wow factor on the property. The other thing about this property is that the reason we've put the carport over on this side is because you'll have full access down the side of down that top side of the property. It's about 3 metres from the side of the house to the fence, all the way down to the back of the yard. And that's pretty rare in a lot of places in these high-end suburbs because the blocks are quite narrow. So not only have you got an enormous house, but you've actually also got full access down the side of the back of your block. So if you have a caravan or something you want to park off street, you're able to do that. And I was very conscious of that because I have those toys and I want to look. I would want it off the street, and so it makes sense that other people would want to do the same. For those who don't like floor plans, this is kind of what it's going to look like. Had a render done just to help with the visualisation of it. Of course, it doesn't have all these fancy trees and stuff around it. It's Newmarket. The soccer club is right next door. But you can get the idea, you're going to be able to drive in. It doesn't represent the full width here, but we will be able to drive down. This building here will be there. That's actually an external building which is going to be set up as a home office. So I figure rather than taking up space internally, let's put it out. We've got the space out the back, so why not put it out the back? And that way, if mum or dad are working from home and it's, the summer that we've just had and the kids are in the pool, that is literally facing the pool out the back, and they can be working, watching the kids, living the life. That's what it's going to look like from the back. So this would be the home office here, the pool and everything, fully decked as you see it. The other thing is, that this doesn't represent again, is that behind this is still 6 metres of yard to the back fence. So want to put some swings in for the kids, knock yourself out. Want to put a shed in to lock up a sports car, knock yourself out. So it's going to have lots of little boxes that people are going to be able to tick and go, yeah. The idea is, obviously, when you're building a house at this size and in this neighbourhood, people are going to walk in and just go, yes, I'm going to live here. It's got to be an emotional attachment when they walk in the door. So there's a lot of things to consider with a project like this. Time frame is definitely one of them. The cost of holding costs on a property like this are huge, and I'll talk about that in a second. You need to be realistic, and you need to really be talking or have talked to builders and other professions before you jump in, because this is effectively going to be a 15-month project. So, holding costs are we'll call it 10 grand a month. So you've got to be able to think about that when you're doing a feasibility. There's $150,000 just in holding costs before you've even bought the place. So you've really got to know your numbers when you're doing these sorts of projects. You've obviously, I mean, we'd all love to have a crystal ball, but nobody, for me personally, my personal view is that the Brisbane market is pretty solid, and I feel like it's going to stay that way for the next few years. I think with the Olympics on our time frame, I think we're going to be okay. Nobody knows for sure, but I'm hedging that bet. The other part of that is that we are in a very high-end area, and when you're talking about homes that are selling for $3 million plus, they're not affected like people are that are buying a first home or maybe an $800,000 or $900,000 home by interest rates. You know, they're not worried about what they're spending. They're worried about what they're getting. They're looking at the house going, this is what we want to live in. So it's a different market. You have to consider things like the builder and the trades. You know, we all know that builders and trades are hard to get at times and not always as reliable as we would like them to be. So really, really important. And that's where a network like this comes in. I mean, you know, lucky enough to be able to be around this group for some time now, and we have, you know, some good builders in this group, and I've partnered up with one of those builders to do this project for me. So, and that's where credibility comes from, being around in a network like this where you've got good quality people of integrity with years of integrity in an environment like this, that you can trust that, you know, I think things are going to go well. You can see some of the work they've done. You can see them regularly. So it is something to consider though. How to structure the project, absolutely. You know, Paul talked about that before, or maybe Brett did when he was up the front here. You know, how to set up the structure properly, financially, and of course funding it is always a huge consideration. So when I went, part of the reason that I said before that I walked away from this back and forward a couple of times was because I was transitioning from the corporate world. My mindset was in one way, and I was working with a coach to sort of reframe the way that I thought about certain things. And part of my reason for walking away at one point was because the auction, I knew it was going to sell for somewhere in the mid ones. And I'm thinking, well, and it made sense. That's what it was worth as it is. But I didn't have that money. But as I am, why let that stop you? And so I talked that through with my coach, and we came up with a plan. Now, I certainly do not recommend to anybody, please, if you get anything out of tonight, this is what you've got to take away. Don't go to an auction and buy a property if you haven't got the money lined up. I kind of did, because I've been in this room plenty of times, and I know that I had an opportunity to be able to fund this. I paid $1.3 million for it at auction on the day. It was both equally terrifying and exciting at the same time, because as I just said, I didn't actually have that 1.3, but I was confident enough to know that I could probably get it without too many dramas because of what I'd done in the past. We've set about $1 million to budget to renovate the project. So with our hard costs, and we're all in about 2.6 million, and we fully expect it to sell for 3 million, beyond 3 million. But certainly based on what's just been selling in the area now, those numbers are going up. Even since I did this that area has seen some crazy numbers being thrown around. So I'm very happy with that, and I hope it continues for the next 12 months, because that's only going to add to our bottom line. So that's what I was alluding to before, is that I haven't used a single cent of my own money on this project. Now, some people are sitting there thinking, how the hell do you do that on a project this size? It's a good question, and it's certainly the question I needed to answer, and there's ways to do that. You've got to have a good accountant. You've got to have a good broker. You've got to have access to either joint venture partners or money partners, private funding, and I'm using a combination of all those things. So, you know, there are people in this room, there are brokers in this room, there are accountants in this room, there are money partners, there are people sitting in this audience who are here because they want to look at investing some of their money in projects to get their money working for them. Maybe they're like me, they were time poor, or they are time poor, they don't want to go find deals, they don't want to do it, but they also don't want their money just sitting around not making any money for them. They want to actually invest it and have that money working for them. And that's where, you know, people like me and others in the room come into it, where yes, we look at these projects and we say, okay, there's private money out there that you can get through private lending institutions, which is how I've funded. So whilst I didn't put any of my own money in it, I own all the risk, because that money doesn't come for free. So I own the risk, but it's not my own cash, because my cash is tied up in other projects. And you're able to leverage other people's money, both as money partners, as in joint venture partners, and also private funding. So, you know, if that's the position you're in the right room. You know, you just need to talk to people. If you see people with these wandering around, have a chat to them. They've been here for a while. You know, there are people in the room who nobody can do everything themselves. We all want to work together. We all want to make these deals work. Finding the deals is the hardest part of what we do. Funding it is relatively easy, and it's easy for me to stand up here and say that, and I had those questionable thoughts previously as well. But there are people who will fund a deal that stacks. If you go to people in this room and with a deal that actually stacks up on paper and on a spreadsheet, and due diligence is done, people will fund it because people want to make their money work for them. So don't let that stop you. And that's me. I think I'm right on time. So, are there any questions about that project or anything before I hand back to Paul? Yeah, just down at Scott, just down the front, or Finn. Race. Yeah.
I'd like to ask the turnaround time. So you bought it end of last year?
Yeah, the auction.
What's the expectation?
So the auction was in, I'm going to say, late October. It was a 45-day settlement. Might have even been September, around then anyway. We settled. There was a few issues with settlement, but we settled the week before Christmas. My expectation was to hopefully have it finished by Christmas this year. You know, one thing we do in this industry is we learn, and we learn as we go sometimes. So the builder and I had that discussion, and you know, it became pretty clear to me that time frame probably wasn't going to happen. So, but I allowed for that in my feasibility. If you think it's going to take 12 months to do something, it's going to take 15, and you need to budget for that. So, 15 months is in my feasibility. If it takes 16 months, then that's going to start to be won't be a problem, because there's profit in the job, but you know, we want that profit at the end of the day to be higher than lower. So we really want to hold our trades to account as best we can. I mean, things happen outside of our control, and it's no one's fault. But certainly we want to manage that to make sure. So setting that right expectation is huge on these jobs, especially when there's that kind of money involved. No other questions? Oh, yep.
Thanks, David. That was really good. I did have a question. I think it was a Crestmead job that you said.
You
said old mate still owned it, but you guys are selling it for the renovation. Is that correct? And how's that deal structure work? If you could kind of shed some light on that.
Yeah, so it's called a seller joint venture. So effectively, and you know, Russell's the right bloke to get the right legal advice on that. But effectively, in essence, how it works is that you want to sell your home. It's not a saleable product. The agent's like, Dave, do you want to buy this house? And I walk in and go, well, this is what it is worth to me right now. If you wanted to sell that house today on the market, this is what it's worth. But I can see that if I look through what's there and what it can be, it's now going to be worth this. So we agree, you and I agree, this is today, and I'm going to write a contract up that it's kind of like an option, if you understand what options are. I'm going to give you this at the settlement of the property, and I'm going to sell it for this, and I'm going to keep what's in the middle. I'm going to keep, because it's going to cost me money to uplift it.
Would you pay stamp duty, or you never owned it?
I never own the property.
Okay.
I never own it.
What that contract is called?
A seller joint venture. Maybe there's a proper legal term. Talk to Russell.
It'd be an option.
Sorry?
It'd be an option agreement.
An option agreement, yeah. It's yeah, I can't picture exactly what it says on the front of the agreement, but it's a full legal document that Russell's team drew up for me. The seller, I hold a caveat over the property, so you can't sell it anymore. So our funds are protected. It's just another way of doing something that is helping everybody. At the end of the day, he was going to really struggle to sell that house because there's some stories, and it just got a solution to his problem. It got a solution for the real estate agent, and it got a solution for us because we wanted another project. So everyone was winning. And so don't be tunnel vision. And this goes back to what I was saying before around when I transitioned out. We're very, our minds go in a certain way. We're programmed to think a certain way. And once you get beyond that, you realise there's a lot of different ways. What's I was saying? 1,000 ways to skin a cat. It's very true. You know, don't sort of think there's only one way to do something.
Thanks, David.
Very good. All right, we'll keep moving.
Keep moving. Thank you.
Thanks, Dave. Cheers.